Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Literary Love 123, where I read, analyze, and discuss horror through a literary lens and where I do not jump on trends. However, in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about a trend I have jumped on, and that is the personal curriculum trend. So, after this quick intro, I'll be right back to talk about personal curriculum. Before I get into my own personal curriculum, I want to give credit to those who have inspired me to follow this personal curriculum trend. So, first of all, I want to give credit to the original creator of the personal curriculum, and that is Elizabeth Jean. You can find her on TikTok and YouTube at Parmesan Princess. I will link her YouTube channel down below. I was also inspired by my fellow Saturday morning momentum buddy, Lee, at Dark Roots Creation. So I'm also going to link her channel down below as well. So I want to first, after taking care of that, give you a couple of actual resources that I used. The first one is a one-page resource, and I will link Shay Cleo on YouTube, her channel. And this is just a schedule that, or not really a schedule, this is kind of what gets you in the mindset of what you might be interested in adding to your personal curriculum. So she has questions here like, what do I want to understand, explore, or discover this season? Focus topics, core materials, and other questions to kind of assess what you want to know and kind of get insight into your own personal motivation for why you want to start your own personal curriculum. The other resource comes from our Best Laid Plans, and I got this in her Etsy shop. So she has a template for you where you actually plan your individual courses with an objective, resources, assignment, schedule, and how you're going to measure your success. So I really appreciated this packet because not only do you have a template, but she also has several examples of her own courses that she designed. So you can kind of get an idea there about what you might want to do when you're planning your actual course. So this can be as laid back or as intensive as you want it to be. It is a personal curriculum, so you can personalize it to you. I want to talk a little bit now about the reason I jumped on this personal curriculum trend. And a lot of it has to do with what other creators who are participating in the personal curriculum club have talked about. And that is a way to combat brain rot, a way to spend time other than doom scrolling. Those are kind of like, I think, your reactionary reasons for doing this, which I completely understand. And that is a big part of why I'm doing this. But then there's also the concept of continuing to learn. There are so many topics that I'm interested in. And I will often tell myself, I don't have time to do this and I don't have time to do that. But that's not true. And laying it out like this in a personal curriculum, being accountable to myself is a very helpful way for me to not only make time for topics I'm interested in, but to have fun, to get back that joy of learning. So I finished grad school in 2023, and obviously there was a lot of stress. I was getting my master's in English, so there was a lot of reading, a lot of writing, deadlines, but I actually enjoyed the learning part of my schooling, the discussions with other students, the schedule, the new things that I learned. So I wanted to keep on doing that. So that is one of the other reasons I decided to get onto this personal curriculum trend. So if it interests you, just think about some of the things that you are interested in learning more about. So I'm not going to read my entire list of possibilities to you before I go into what I'm actually doing for my spring curriculum. But I just want to give you a couple of examples of things that I'm interested in learning. And I think that'll also give you a way to understand just how flexible and how varied your curriculum can be. So, a few of the things that I'm interested in are the link between architecture and horror, needle felting, video editing, because I would like to improve my video editing skills, a book club with my husband, who's not a reader, but he will occasionally read a book with me if I ask him to. I want to get more into the works of Sophocles. I want to study marketing and business, work on my budget, do a deep dive into reader response theory, study the concept of hauntology, and do an intensive feminist study course. So, those are just a few of the things that I'm interested in. And that now leads into what I'm actually doing for my 2026 spring curriculum. So I initially started with 2 courses, but then I've added a third one. So I'm going to start with the first course that I created for myself. And this course is a deep dive into David Lynch. So, my objective for this course is to expand my knowledge of David Lynch's creative philosophy and explore his creations. So, my resources are streaming services, books. One of the books that I am using for this course, I haven't gotten to it yet, but one of them is The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer, and this is written by David Lynch's daughter, Jennifer Lynch. I'm currently listening to The Secret History of Twin Peaks, which is written by Mark Frost, who is the co-creator of Twin Peaks. Sorry, I had a moment there. So I'm listening to the audiobook of that, and it is very, very in depth, very interesting, going back to mythology around the area in which Twin Peaks is set. Like, I'm talking, it goes back to Lewis and Clark's expedition and has excerpts from some of their, you know, writings to each other and writings to Thomas Jefferson. So it is really amazing, and it is so much deeper than what I had expected it to be. And I am having the best time with that. So my other resources are YouTube. I have watched countless videos talking about David Lynch himself, interviews with David Lynch, analysis of Twin Peaks, Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive, and a few other of David Lynch's creations. And then podcasts. I've listened to several different podcasts about the works of David Lynch. And then my assignments and projects. So, assignment 1 is to watch a selection of David Lynch's works, and I'll talk in a minute about the ones I've already watched and the ones I plan to watch. Read The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer. Watch David Lynch interviews, listen to podcasts and podcast episodes about David Lynch and his works, discuss David Lynch and his works with others, which I have been discussing with my friend, discussing with my adult kids, discussing with my spouse. And so I'm definitely doing that. Create a journal spread. This is going to be the final thing I do. And I am doing this course for the entirety of spring. So March, April, May. So the culmination, the final project is going to be my creation of a journal spread that's inspired by my favorite Lynch work. So let me talk about how I laid my schedule out. So here you can see that I did 4 weeks, in each month for March, April, and May. So in March, my assignment was to watch, for the first week, was to watch Blue Velvet and listen to podcasts, which I did. Second week is to watch Mulholland Drive and watch more interviews, which I did. Week 3 is to watch David Lynch, The Art of Life, which I have done. Kind of, if I can get ahead in one week, I go ahead and do it. So this schedule is also very flexible. And just another example of the flexibility, in week 4, I was supposed to watch Wild at Heart and Inland Empire. But instead of that, I went ahead and watched Eraserhead because that was his first major film. So I was like, you know what? I should watch Eraserhead first and then save Wild at Heart and Inland Empire for later in my course, which I did. So right now, the next thing for me to do is to read The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer and watch Twin Peaks: The Return, because I've already watched Twin Peaks seasons 1 and 2, and I've watched Fire Walk with Me. So I'm not going to read every little thing about what's left because that would take us forever, but you get the gist of the idea. And I am having an absolutely amazing time getting deep into the world of David Lynch. And yes, probably due to all my David Lynch deep diving, I am having the strangest dreams lately, but that's fine. Okay. So the next course I want to talk about is my deep dive into the Gothic Anthropocene. So this book is what inspired me to do this. And this is Dark Scenes from Damaged Earth, the Gothic Anthropocene. It is edited by Justin D. Edwards, Rune Growland, I hope I said that right, and Johan Hogland. And so this is the idea that our current geological stage, if you fall under the belief that we are in the Anthropocene, which means that our earth has been greatly affected by anthropos, or humans, and we are seeing the effects of that. So Gothic, in terms of the past coming back to haunt the present. And one of the things that the opening to this collection of essays talks about is that geologists, paleontologists, archaeologists, their job is to literally go dig up, digging into the past and bringing what they find to the present. So that very idea is Gothic itself. So there are some general essays in here about the idea of the Anthropocene, but then there are specific essays too that focus on movies or television series that are connected to this idea of the Gothic Anthropocene. So one of the movies they talk about is The Girl with All the Gifts, and a couple of the television series that there are essays written about. One is Twin Peaks: The Return, so synchronicity there. And the other one is the folk horror, the Gothic in True Detective. I think mostly it's going to focus on season 1, maybe season 4. So I've watched both of those seasons of True Detective. So my schedule for my Gothic Anthropocene, my objective is to discover and analyze the relationship between the Anthropocene and the Gothic. So my resources are books, mainly the one I just talked about, articles and essays, and YouTube videos. So one of the articles that I've read already is about cosmic horror, and especially H.P. Lovecraft's work in this idea of the Anthropocene as the Gothic. So I learned a lot from reading that. So my assignments and projects: read, the book I just mentioned, read 3 related articles, watch related movies, watch videos. my final project when I finish this in May is going to be to write an essay analyzing a movie through the lens of the Gothic Anthropocene. So my assignments here, and again, I'm not going to go into like every little detail for all 12 weeks because again, that would take a very long time. So researching the term Anthropocene, reading text related to that, read obviously the essays in this book. I need to watch the movie Annihilation before I read one of the essays talking about annihilation through the lens of the Gothic Anthropocene. I haven't read the book either, so that's something I'll do later. Right now, it's just going to be the movie. And then I'm going to reread The Color Out of Space by H.P. Lovecraft because there's also an essay about it. Then I'm going to read some other books. I won't go through all of them. And then watch, related movies, read the articles, watch videos. Something I talked about is, or something I forgot to talk about rather, is the measurement of success. And again, my course template comes from that Etsy shop, Our Best Laid Plans. So that's where I got the scheduling idea and this measurement of success. So I forgot to talk about my measurements of success with the David Lynch course, but I'm just now going to talk about my measurement of success for my Gothic Anthropocene course. So the number of essays I read, the number of articles I read, the number of videos I watch, the number of movies I watch, and then my final essay. That's going to be how I measure success in my Gothic Anthropocene course. And then finally, the next course is not going to be as detailed because it's not one I created myself. It is one that can be found on edX through Harvard. Now you can pay $100-something to get a certificate, which I am not doing. I am just auditing the class, just getting a free, version of the Shakespeare class. But it is titled Shakespeare's Hamlet. I think I wrote Shakespeare's Helmet in my title of my course, but it's obviously Shakespeare's Hamlet, the Ghost. So this course is about the ghost of Shakespeare's father, but it is focusing on this idea of what does the ghost mean? What does the ghost represent? How do we remember our dead? Just kind of getting into the depths of what the ghost is. So the first section that I have completed is how does Shakespeare think about the dead? So you kind of think about how ghosts are depicted in theater and then how ghosts are viewed in our time versus the way that they were viewed in Shakespeare's time. So clearly, I don't have to make out a complete schedule for this because it is a 4-week class. So again, it's not even going to take me throughout all of spring, but it's just an add-on that I was interested in doing because I did study Shakespeare in grad school, but I want to get deeper into it because I do enjoy the works of Shakespeare. So that is my first semester of personal curriculum. I am enjoying myself immensely at this point, and I would love to know, are you a part of the personal curriculum club? If so, what are you studying? What do you hope to study? If you are not yet in the personal curriculum club, does this make you want to jump on this trend too? I would love to hear about it. So, once again, I want to say thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me ramble on about the joys of a personal curriculum. And I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like, hit that bell, subscribe, so we can keep on talking about what we learned and what we want to learn. And as always, have a wonderful day, night, wherever you may be, and happy reading. Bye.